Okay, just quickly picking up where we left off in the Dred Scott decision, 1857. Scott was a slave who had been held in Missouri and was taken to the Free Territory of Wisconsin, where he lived for 2 years, and then he went back to Missouri. He argued that because he lived on free soil, obviously he felt this should make him a free citizen. As a result, he sued the state of Missouri in 1846. And in 1857, through a series of appeals, the Supreme Court ruled against him for three major reasons. The first reason is that Scott had no right to sue in federal court because the framers of the Constitution did not intend African Americans to be U.S. citizens. If you remember, the Declaration of Independence does not include women, Native Americans, or Black Americans. Number two, Congress did not have the power to deprive any person of property. So therefore, Congress could not exclude slavery from any federal territory. And lastly, the Missouri Compromise was unconstitutional. This is what the Supreme Court came up with because essentially it excluded slavery from Wisconsin and other northern territories. So the Dred Scott decision is another issue that kind of bubbles up between the North and the South. The sectionalism is running deeper and deeper. And essentially, we are going to see the secession happen. Following the Lincoln-Douglas debates, which we'll talk about when I see you in class, issues between the North and the South got hotter and deeper. Lincoln, who at the time was not the president, but he was working towards it, was seen as a radical. Believe it or not, he was anti-slavery, and he essentially wins the election of 1860, but he does not win the popular vote. The reality was that the populous free states had enough electoral votes to select a president without the need for a single electoral vote from the South. So as you can imagine, this really burns the biscuits of Southerners. So they feel like he is hashtag not their president. Doesn't history repeat itself? It's crazy, right? All right, so secession of the Deep South. The election of Lincoln was enough to send the Southerners off the deep end. They called for immediate disunion. They want to break away from the Union and create their own country. In December of 1860, South Carolina voted unanimously to secede. And within 6 weeks, within 6 weeks, other states, including Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and Texas, do the same thing. In February of 1861, the 7 states of the Deep South meet in Montgomery, Alabama, and they create what is called the Confederate States of America. They draw up their own constitution, which is essentially the same constitution as the Constitution of the United States. However, and here I bet you couldn't guess this, the Confederacy placed limits on government's powers to impose tariffs and restrict slavery. The president of the Confederate States of America is Jefferson Davis from Mississippi, and the vice president is Alexander Stephens from Georgia. They come up immediately with something called the Crittenden Compromise, and essentially this is the last-ditch effort to try to make peace and keep everything together. Senator John Crittenden of Kentucky proposed a constitutional amendment that would guarantee the right to hold slaves in all territories south of the 3630 parallel. Lincoln essentially reads it, talks it over with his folks, and essentially he says he can't accept the compromise because he believes that it violates the Republican position against the extension of slavery into the territories. Southerners who voted for secession believe they were acting in the tradition of the Revolution of 1776. They feel like they have the same nationalism and kind of the same force behind them that the the federal government was telling them what they could and couldn't do. They didn't feel like they had proper representation, and their issue was not that it was slavery, but it was that the North was telling them what they could and could not do within their own states. This is why the South refers to, well, some people in the South, and even to this day, still refer to the Civil War as the War of Northern Aggression. They feel that the North was not allowing them to live their life and do what they want to do in their own states. Essentially, they believe they had the right to national independence and to dissolve a constitutional compact that no longer protected them from tyranny. So this is what really starts rolling the ball of the Civil War once the secession happens. And next time I see you, we will be talking about the Civil War. Have a great day.